that I'm willing to trade. I said I'm willing to trade a wide receiver. I have many wide receivers who are all going pretty high in dynasty startups, and I need a running back. I'm interested in even trades where, if you have an interesting idea of how to make them balanced, I'm open to suggestions. And I got a couple of trades I didn't love. Somebody offered me Akers for Debo. I'm not into that. Someone offered me one other. I don't recall. It was a terrible offer with James Conner, but it was a huge overpay. But then I got an interesting offer from a guy who I've made trades with before. Dan, you know this fantasy player too. And he offered me Christian McCaffrey, Mike Williams, and Austin Hooper for Chase Edmonds, Debo Samuel, and TJ Hawkinson. I can't give up Hawkinson, and I don't want to. It would make it too uneven, I think. But I do think there's something to be said with the Debo, Christian McCaffrey for this particular league. Would be an interesting trade.
Yeah. It's going to be, I don't know. You're going to have to throw something else fairly valuable in there. I think
I would do Debo and Edmonds. I would do for McCaffrey, but I don't want to give up Hawkinson, and I have enough wide receivers and I have enough Debo exposure that it wouldn't burn me. So
I don't think you're getting him for Debo and Edmonds personally.
Right. Yeah. You're going to have to put in because McCaffrey is more than, in most people's mind, is worth more than Debo.
Yeah.
And by a pretty good amount, more than Edmonds, who nobody really seems to have any sort of faith or confidence in. But on the other hand, nobody seems to have any faith or confidence in any running back in Miami. I mean, that's the funny thing. It's I put in Jordan McNamara put in a tweet, talking about Sony Michel having more rushing yards or almost as many rushing yards as Saquon Barkley. I think it was more. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, the edge is evergreen. I mean, because he's a valuable guy at the end of your bench in Dynasty and in best ball. Just because we don't know that much about what's going to happen with running backs. We don't know near as much as we think we do. And we certainly don't know what's going on in Miami, and some guys just laughing at me going, yeah, Sony Michel has no value whatsoever. I'm like, dude, you just don't even understand, how to play the game. But that just says, I mean, nobody has any confidence in anybody in Miami. So it's really hard to trade those guys, but it's really easy, I think, probably to trade for them.
And you're also trading for a piece where you have to, in my opinion, and Dan, we talk about this often on the show, when you're buying the bigger piece, usually you got to make it worth it, right? So if you're buying McCaffrey, you said, or are you selling him?
No, I would be buying McCaffrey.
Yeah, so for me, you got to add something legit with Debo and make it a slight overpay in order to make it attractive. Especially if you're not giving him all the pieces he wants.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind overpaying. I just structurally don't want to get rid of Hawk.
Who does he have at tight end right now?
Yeah,
I'm pulling up his roster.
Great question. So it's TJ Hawk, Debo, and who else was he trying to get?
Edmonds,
and he was throwing in Mike Williams, who I would take back. I don't really need him, but if I'm losing a wide receiver, I don't mind taking on Mike Williams. And McCaffrey and then Hooper. So I'm not even entering the Hooper Hawkinson swap part of it. I'm not doing it. I have Cole Kmet. So it's not like I have no tight, and I have Trey McBride. So I don't have the worst tight ends if I lost Hawk, but I don't want to do it. Having Hawkinson is just such an advantage. Let me pull up this guy's roster, or we could talk this out whenever you guys want to. I don't want to make us go off the rails.
We're most of the way through. Pull up his roster. Let's.
Might as well at this point. The guys are rolling in. We got Wheeler in the house. He's always trying to sell somebody from the GOAT leagues. He's got McCaffrey on the block right now in SG Super GOAT. We just finished that rookie draft. Or no, we just started it. What am I saying?
Started that one.
I traded my 102. That's why for me, I'm like, I'm done till the third round.
Draft is
okay.
over.
So he has Waller, he has Hooper, and he has Taysom Hill.
Yeah. So,
So he's basically got Darren Waller and then two guys he's uncomfortable with.
Does he mint his own coins? Is that who I'm thinking of?
No, he's got a name that would make you think of the Iowa college football team.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he can be interesting to deal with.
I made that CEH trade with him earlier in the offseason. So we had a trade we both felt pretty good about, and I ended up turning that 1.06 into Garrett Wilson. So I'm feeling really good about that as well. So I wouldn't mind making a second trade with him.
He is big on having elite tight ends. I mean, that's like one of the main things he wants. So it probably will be hard to get Waller out of him.
This is a 1 QB?
This is just a regular FFPC league.
See, knowing who it is, I think Hawkinson is probably the key point to the trade.
Yeah.
So you might have difficulty going any other way on it.
So he poison pilled his way into Hawkinson with the fake Debo trade. Is that what we're saying? To go super deep into it?
Well, I mean, yeah. He wants both Debo and Hawkinson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, I wouldn't mind doing a just Galaxy branding this further. I wouldn't mind trading him a Hawkinson and Waller swap in some shape or form. Maybe if he wants to get a little younger at tight end.
Well, put that in the pack, make that the package. That's where you got to make the package where basically now you're going to put McCaffrey and Waller. That's who you're trying to get. And then you got to put the pieces that are going to add up to that. So you've got Samuel, you've got Hawkinson, which I don't mind selling Hawkinson, man. I mean, where he's going, he's got to
I should either drop the Williams part, which I don't know if he can. I consider Williams slightly more than a throw in. Like, he's not worthless.
Right.
If you could drop the Williams and drop the Hooper and just counter for CMC and Waller and give him the three guys he really wanted and see if he'd do that trade.
I think that's pretty good.
I would be getting older, but potentially much, much, much better. And I'm a little worried about having too much Debo this year and not cashing out.
Well, I was going to say, is this a Debo share that you already had and the value, like you've built up that value, or it's someone you recently purchased?
This league, I believe I finished second. So I made money. But
you had Debo through the season.
Yeah, I had Debo. So it wasn't
that's
like
perfect
I didn't
sell,
go
man.
trade for him. So yeah, I might do that. All right, maybe we'll do an on-air counter, and we'll see what happens.
All right,
man.
So
yeah, Debo already made you money, so
exactly. Just use them, and time to move on, guys. Time to move on here, but a little taste because tonight we're gonna do a little rookie draft review. We're gonna let's get into it, man. We got a lot to talk about. We got trades, we got all kinds. Let's just get into it.
Go district, you know the Pope listens. Dynasty, our religion, for the blokes missing. On all of these trades, on all of these plays, on all of these grades. By the end of the day, y'all getting played. So, what you gonna do next? Try to fill up that flex? Send the homie a text. That trash offer's the best. You try to make it complex, then they text you back. Now all of a sudden they don't make any sense. Broaden your horizons, boy. Dynasty's not for the Simons, boy. These trades not for consignment, boy. Respect your opponent, y'all some piranhas, boy. This my advice, from me to you. Open up your cute little podcast queue. Search up GOAT District, my dude. Pop it in your ear, man, y'all know what to do. It's the... And I always be trading. And I always be trading. And I always be trading. Y'all try to betray them, but first you gotta bait them. Fish.
What is up, Fantasyland? We are back in the district tonight for another monster show. Fresh off of a huge week, man. We had Sean in last week, crushed like a $190 with him, $160 I think we did with him. Go check out that show, guys. Tons of Dynasty redraft goodness that will help you win your leagues, guaranteed. And I'll tell you guys a little secret. I know we bring on the guests. We spoiled the shit out of you guys with all that goodness, the winners, 6-digit winners, even more, right? No, actually, no. I guess our biggest winner's got to be Abib 750. That's got to be the biggest one. You guys correct me later if I'm wrong.
Timeout. Chad
Yes,
Schrader is the biggest one.
Oh, what is he at?
He's at. I wouldn't even want to guess his fantasy football winnings at this point.
Go check out his show on the District, guys. Go check out his show on District. That's one of our top watch shows on YouTube was with Mr. Schroeder. So excuse me to the GOAT himself. That's why I asked, man. That's why I said, correct me if I'm wrong. But the little secret is this: is the four of us are not too shabby. You know what I mean? Like we rock these high stakes leagues and we do pretty good. So tonight we're gonna talk about all the rookie drafts that we were all in recently. Talk about trades. We're all very active. I mean, all four of us were in the what do we call that chat? I don't even remember what we call it, the G Senate or whatever it is. We had trades going, all kinds, movements up and down drafts in between these triflex, startups that we're doing. So guys, let's jump into it. You know him, the man with the flow, Dan, the man, the overhyped sleeper, no E on the end. Dan, always a blast. How you doing, brother?
Oh, doing great and excited to talk about the rookies. I mean, it was a pretty wild week last week with all the rookie drafts going on. Lots of fun though. So I'm eager to chop it up, see how you guys did, and see what you think of my strategies as well.
Yeah, man, the OG fantasy. I mean, I'm afraid to ask how many rookie drafts you had with the amount of orphans and dynasty startups you've been doing in the past 365. I don't know, Theo, give us a little taste. How many rookie drafts did you have?
I actually I'm not 100%.
I'm not allowed to say.
I will say this. I had a sickening amount of tabs open on for about a week. It was
a lot of buffering going on.
When I called Theo when we were on the clock, you'd hear the background. You were on the clock, and he'd have to tell me, "Oh, that's not our draft." It's like, no, I know because we're already on the clock. You hear it again. It's like, oh, okay, I hit mute on the computer. We got to talk about our thing.
Yeah,
that it's the little FFPC lady was very prevalent in my home. A lot of communication.
Yeah, Theo might actually be the OG of fantasy because I think we've all been through the phase season where we all went a little overboard, and then we were like, how are we going to manage all these leagues? And since then, I've been pretty tame, pretty good, sticking to a lot of best ball. Theo's probably the most consistent with the amount of leagues that he adds on a yearly basis. So shout out to the OG, guys. Make sure you follow him in that sexy voice that we see at La Quinta in the President's Suite. Andrew blessing us through all the work and spreadsheets. He's joining us tonight at AMS Schellenberg. Always a blast, buddy. What are you up to?
Yeah, great to see it. Sadly, it's only in the junior suite here. So junior suites are still pretty big. But you guys can all see the swivel TV in the background. What I should have done is put the hockey on, because I think the Battle of Florida, everyone's talking about the Battle of Alberta with the Flames and the Oilers, but really it's all about the Battle of Florida. It's the Panthers versus the Lightning, and I couldn't give two shits about either of the teams. Just before I don't care about hockey, and especially don't care about Florida.
I was going to say my next secret is that I'll tell you a secret as a Canadian. I just tuned out completely of hockey, I would say, in the last couple of years. Grew up playing my entire life, watched it growing up as a Leafs fan, man. You can only take so much of a beating. And look at this year. It's like I didn't lose anything. They lost in the first round again, never fails. Everyone told me this is the best team. Oh yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah.
So as a sports fan, I've had my share of Schadenfreude with the Timberwolves in the Wild already. So,
well, I have your old team here with me, Dan. I have the old Minnesota North Stars.
That's right.
Ran out on you guys last week to go do a Dallas Stars. Whatever. Well, I guess watch party, I suppose.
So, guys, we're all in a bunch of rookie drafts. We have a few together. I know pros versus Joes. We've got I think all of us are in that one, aren't we? The
goats versus pros,
or goats versus pros.
Yeah, pros versus Joes. No. Yeah, it's the three of us, but not Theo. So
okay, not Theo,
Andrew's
and then
with his own team, and then you and me have a team.
And then
they're all in the hard way.
The hard way and
Yep.
Dynasty Depot. Are we all in that or no?
No.
No,
Okay.
Just 3 of us.
Cancel one Andrew, add back one Theo.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Just to get a feel of the land here of which ones we share. And then we're all in the money league except for Andrew. Right?
Correct.
And then we have some shared teams as well.
And some
Andrew
shared
and I
teams.
share a team.
Well-
and I know you and Dan don't.
We'll hit on all of it tonight, guys, just to say we've got a lot of drafts to go off of, a lot of actions. Theo, man, start this off. I actually, before we start this off, sorry, Dan, I just have to, man. Your second favorite Denver Bronco running back is now an Indianapolis Colt. How pumped are you for Philip Lindsay in that blue and white? Couldn't resist.
Well,
Saw that right before we came on. I couldn't resist, Dan. Sorry, buddy.
yeah, if he gets significant playing time, that's definitely bad for Jonathan Taylor in some way, shape, or form.
Or
And-
Hines, no? Hines?
Yeah,
no?
and Hines, but Hines, I don't think was ever going to get that much rushing work. So I think Lindsey is just kind of the direct early down backup on JT. Just to like if JT went down, Lindsey would be getting a lot of carries. But otherwise, I think it's going to be JT 1, Hines 2, and Lindsey 3.
All right, Theo, sorry to cut you off, brother. Start it off, and then we'll go around, dance around these questions till we go off the rails as usual.
Yes. So the first question for me is, how much Breece Hall did you get? Were you guys able to get any 101s? And are we rostering Hall across any of our rosters? Maybe start with Dan.
Yeah, so I got one share of Breece Hall. I had an opportunity to get another. I could trade the 105 and 107 for the 101. I ended up not doing that just because I thought with that particular team, even though I needed help at running back, it was a kind of in a mid rebuild from a team that was just destitute when I took it over, and so I eventually decided it was better to have the 2 assets rather than just the one Breece Hall. So we'll see how that goes, but I did get my 1 share of Breece, so I was happy about that.
JD.
Yeah, good job, Dan, because I struck out. I had the 102 in Super Goat. I know you and I had a 102 in the Money League. I had no 101s. I tried to move the 102 for the last couple weeks. I've been trying to work on deals that I just wanted out of that 102. I'm not huge on Walker. I know that you've got the 2 receivers there, but again, if I could guarantee, I always like to go for the sure thing. So if I can move that 102 for something more insurance for me, I ended up moving it in that league along with my 402 for Bateman and a 23 second. So for me, I really like that. I wanted a top, 15-ish receiver, which I think I got, and then a 23 second. But I couldn't make it happen for Breece. Andrew, did you score the new shiny Jets running back?
Yeah, one Breece. I bought an orphan off of Dynasty Depot. I think it was a VIP team, a Triflex team. It had the 101. I did that thing I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago where I searched for multiple first round picks and some player names that I liked. But had the Breece, and I was seeing a lot of trades on May 7th, whenever the drafts open. Some pretty big hauls for Breece. And I, put him on the block, was really interested just to see what I can get. However, when I bought the team off of BIP, I distinctly remember him telling me, good luck with trades in that league. You either don't get any done or, everybody wants, stuff tilted towards them. So it just was not going to be a league where I was going to be able to move that 101. And that was just fine with me. I wasn't paying up in any of my other leagues to go get the 101. So thought it just made sense to get the 1 Breece share and move on with my life. So of the 15 FFPC dynasties that I have, either co-owned or fully owned, got only 1 Breece Hall.
I got an add-on question.
Yeah.
Did anyone not see Breece? Because I saw Burks in one of my FFPC dynos. Treylon went off at the 101. Did you guys see any 101s not being Breece Hall? Dan says no. Andrew says no.
100% Breece.
Theo.
100% Breece. And I'll say that we talked about this before. That particular owner who took Treylon Burks at 101, that's just terrible process in an FFPC league. even if Treylon Burks was your personal 101,
You could trade him.
you could have traded down to 102.
Yeah.
102 probably would have traded with you. And I didn't see Treylon Burks go higher than, I'm sure we'll touch on him a little later, but I didn't see him go higher than 103 in any. I try to think if there was any leagues. There was one league I saw him go at 102 ahead of Kenneth Walker, but it was pretty much he was not going in the top two. So like that to me, that was just poor process. An interesting thing that they would do. For me, I got 4 shares of Breece Hall. I was aggressive getting the 101 this year.
Yeah, you really wanted him. But talk about how you set yourself up, because you've been setting yourself up for those 101s for a bit now.
So I bought an orphan earlier in the year, a good one. A team that had a number of players that I was into. I've, Pitts at tight end. I have Lamb, AJ Brown, Fournette, guys I like, Kyler Murray. And I moved Derrick Henry to the team with the 101. And I also picked up the 201, which I traded for the 101 and the 201. And I sent him either a late 2 or an early 3 at the beginning of the summer. So that I feel like the 101, it gained value in the sense that we like Breece Hall more than maybe we did before the combine. But maybe the landing spot could have been a little bit better. I personally don't mind the landing spot, but that was one league I did that. There was another league where I moved Deebo Samuel.
Hold on, Theo, before you move on from that other there's no way if you offered that draft day that owner would accept that deal now. There's no way. That was the beauty of you doing that so early and so aggressive.
Yeah. Well, that's why I wanted to bring it up. You worked on that early.
I worked on that one early.
The benefits.
And then I had another league where I moved around to get to 101, and then I actually made 2 draft week trades. One that I went back and forth with. I talked to Dan a little bit about it, and I'm not sure if I touched with you guys on this one, but this was an aggressive move in a league where I feel like I was kind of on the cusp and I really needed a running back. I traded the 104, a 2023 1, and a second rounder, and I got back the 101, Breece Hall, Albert O, and another second. Actually, let me pull up the trade, but it was 2 firsts for Albert O, Breece Hall, and 2 seconds, and he got a second back from me. So it was an aggressive move, but I took Breece Hall there. I was happy to do so, and then I had one more trade actually in a league where I've won back to back, and I had accumulated a few 2023 firsts this offseason, so I was sitting on 3 2023 firsts, and actually traded the Jordan McNamara Chad Parsons team 2 2023 ones. And James Robinson, some whatever throw in. And I got their 101, and I took Breece Hall in that league. So I was aggressive going after the 101, and hopefully Breece Hall is an absolute star, and I think he has a chance to be, and I'm glad I did it.
What are you guys adding to 102 to get to 101? Like if somebody's got the 102 right now and they're like, oh man, I want to move up to get me some Breece Hall. What are you adding? Like, is a 23 second enough?
I don't think so. I think I feel like it was a big tier break between 101 and 102. I mean,
first,
your league might
be
different.
A first.
It's hard to move. So, for me, if you're moving it would have to be another.
It feels like it needs to rebalance itself a little bit too.
I traded one 101. So I'll give you what I traded on the clock. I traded the 101. One league I gave up a Hall share, but I got the 102, the 111, and the 112, and it was a team that I was rebuilding. So,
okay.
Would I be happy to switch those picks back for Breece Hall a week later? I don't know. I go back and forth, but I think you're looking at a lot of equity for the 101 right
now. All right. This one was a fun one for me because we do OTC on the show, and there was a lot of OTC. And one thing when I saw this on here, I was like, oh, I wish I had written down more of them while I was doing the rookie drafts, because you know how when you could be stuck on that clock for a while on that one choice, but then 2 weeks later, you completely forget that you're trying to make that decision. So I tried to go back in all my drafts. I don't know, Andrew, you want to start this off? Was there, I feel like the obvious, should I get the obvious ones out of the way? I feel like the London Burks one is pretty obvious. You guys, think that's it's pretty much you're deciding between the two, or like Dan and I were like, Dan was like, okay, I already have a London, so if we go Treylon here, I'm okay with it. And that's, I feel like I'm like that with most of this draft class. I just want a little bit of everything.
I did a lot of that bartering there, because we can continue to talk on other OTCs, but just on that one, I got no rookie draft London, so I only got London during the startups before the draft started. But I will tell you, like, I was playing like ADP games of, like, I got a single Burks because I knew I got 102 or 103. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Like, I got one Burks because I'm like, I just don't think that for all my 105s that I have, I'm never going to get a Burks. But whenever I got on the clock at 105, I was doing exactly as you said, JD. I was like, okay, it's now a little bit of Wilson here. It's a little bit of
Williams.
Yeah, thank you, Jameson. And then it was when I had the 107s, it was like, okay, this is easy. I'm just going to take whoever falls. And more often than not, that was like the Olaves. Or maybe I got one Garrett Wilson down there. So I really was doing a lot of that bartering. So I never felt that was like a really hard choice. The only one that I really forced myself to make was that with that Burks, like 102 or 103 or whatever the hell that was, just to make sure I had some exposure. Because otherwise I absolutely would have been shut out just with like the ADP games.
Yeah, totally makes sense. For me, it was Burks and London. I was trying to balance those. I was hoping I could get a Walker mixed in somewhere there. He never fell out of the 102 in any of my drafts. So
same.
And I did not have any 102s, so I did not get any Walker.
He kind of fell at the back end of that first group almost, right? He's like right before Moore, but like after those, like London, Burks, and then Jameis.
No, Kenneth Walker went basically second in every FFPC.
Yeah. Or sorry, I'm thinking about Watson.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Burks and London, that was one where I was just trying to kind of keep things relatively even. I was always happy to pick up a Jameson Williams anytime that Burks and London were off the board. And then Olave and Sky Moore was probably my other decision at 7.
Yeah, I've got that down too.
And I had a couple Sky Moores, so I took an Olave intentionally just to kind of mix things up a little bit. So that was also a good one. But I think the early second round was kind of an interesting place to be. But let's go through everybody
even the back end of the first. I put the back end of the first into the beginning of the second was like always a decision.
I agree. I agree with you, JD and Dan, on that one, where like sometimes you were holding like a 111 or a 112, and in other drafts those guys might be there at 203 to 204. We'll call it like the Rashad White tier. Yeah. It's like as soon as your league is considering Rashad White, you're in that tier. For me, it was the Garrett Wilson versus Jameson Williams pick, and that was super tough for me. I have exposure to both now. I like both a lot. Garrett Wilson, I was, super, super high on in the pre-draft process, but I love Jameson Williams as well. So like a few times I went Wilson over Williams, but I made sure that I was able to, trade back around and get a little bit more Williams. So, and like Andrew and I got Wilson and Williams on one team. So I actually have two teams like that where I have a Wilson and Williams, which I think could turn into, a really nice combo.
Williams actually went 103, the first receiver off the board in the DPL league. Theo, the one you just joined, as the 3-time champion, consecutive. He went 103, man. What do you guys think about that? I feel like with the high stakes guys, Dan, and I don't know if it's just me kind of snooping in our DMs with all the sharps that we hang out with in there. Jameson Williams seems like a favorite with the sharps.
Yeah, I think definitely some sharp players were putting them up above Burks and London. I kind of knew where I was sitting in rookie drafts. I knew I was going to get a couple Jameson Williams. So I didn't really worry about trying to shove him up above the others, because I wanted to make sure I had some Burks and some London too. I'm pretty agnostic on, all of those because all of them I think have, good route to success, and all of them certainly, could fall flat on their face. The one guy I didn't get any of in the first round was Garrett Wilson. He just always, like I could get Burks, London, or Williams, and so I didn't take him, or he went before I could make a pick. So
same.
Yeah. So I have 0 Garrett Wilson.
Mine's actually London. I have no London. Another decision I found was actually, you talk about Rashad White, Theo. I find like the Dotson, Pickens, Dotson, and
David Bell,
and then Rashad White. You're kind of deciding between, like, do I take the first round guy that keeps sliding into the second round? Do I take the Pickens, who's going in a really good situation in Pittsburgh, probably best case scenario for him with a lot of upside? Or do I start picking at these running backs to add depth to my roster? And White seems to have the most upside and kind of settled in there. I know James Cook went earlier in a few drafts that I have. I think he went. I know we're going to talk about him later, but he started like 109, 110. But did you guys what did you guys do with those late first round receivers? Did you guys grab any Pickens or Dotson, or what did you guys do with them?
For me, it was I feel like I'd either maneuvered. I didn't have a ton of like 111s and 112s.
I just had the ones I just had the ones I couldn't get rid of, Theo. That's the only ones I had.
Like I tried to get rid of them or package them. I got some Pickens. I got a little bit more James Cook than I know the three of you would have wanted. I'm sure we'll touch on him in a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I was kind of like balanced around with those late guys. Pickens was probably my favorite guy that you could get in an FFPC league, like as a late first. I think like he presented like the best upside with like you could see a path to him being like a big time year 2 guy, like in even redraft. Like you could see them move on from one of their wide receivers like they've done historically in the past so many times. So like Pickens to me was like that guy. If I had to pick at like the 111, 112, I have 0 shares of Christian Watson. I know like in a lot of my leagues, people were taking him there 0. If I would have taken a Christian Watson share, I don't think Dan would have split a main event team with me this year. So
it would have been mortified.
I had to wait. Like Dan would have like worn like a fake mustache because he doesn't want to be next to a guy who has Christian Watson rostered. So. I avoided Christian Watson, but for me, it was like Pickens, and there was actually a few leagues. Rashad White was weird because like there was a couple leagues where I was like, I'm going to suck it up and take Rashad White at the 112. People sometimes would reach and take him a little higher. I feel like there's like I like Rashad White, but I feel like there's a hive with Rashad White. Like people who like Rashad White love Rashad White. We saw in the Hardway draft, he went like 108.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was a special case.
Yeah, that was an interesting case.
No, I agree. I mean, I think it really was tough on that back end. I got a little bit of Pickens. I forced myself into some Dotson shares. The one thing, slight derailing, the one thing I need FFPC to work on, so add this to the intern list. I like the player share, the player ownership report. I love an opportunity to click on the player name and then show me the
see what team in. Yes, I tried that today. It's showing me his stats.
The only way you can do it is to kind of go the backwards way and just go to your league homepage and then do the player search.
No, I want to click for my ownership report. Anyway,
I agree. I agree with that, Andrew. We'll have to talk to the heads at FFPC. Don't worry,
nice.
We got
okay.
that.
Well, we can have the intern do it.
The intern will take it.
Anyways, I mean, I forced myself, especially in those picks when I couldn't move them, to move on from the quarterbacks. I did grab a couple, like I think maybe one Malik Willis there. And I was just thinking to myself, like, are these quarterbacks, especially in the super flex or triflex, going to appreciate more in value than I expected? So I grabbed, I guess one Malik Willis there, probably close to the turn, although I can't tell/remember because of the hyperlink thing. And then I only got one Desmond Ridder, like I think late second round in that pros versus Joes. I think maybe one Matt Corral, like late second. I just wanted to make sure I had a little bit of exposure to each of those 3 quarterbacks. But it really was like a little bit of like my instincts told me man, these quarterbacks, if they hit, if Malik Willis is actually good and you get some rushing production, he skyrockets up the board and shows way more value than maybe some of these running backs and wide receivers do in this year. But I just end up getting a ton. So maybe that was just more of a me, right sizing myself into sharper decisions while on the clock there.
I also found trying to decide, like, again, once you get that first Rashad White, then you start thinking Isaiah Spiller looks pretty good to me, in that situation in LA. And then I know Damian, Pierce. I keep forgetting his last name for some reason. Pierce. It's probably because I didn't draft him, but he keeps, I know he's a favorite, especially with only Marlon Mack in the way. That offense worries me. A lot of stuff worried me in that situation. What do you guys think about Damian Pierce? We haven't touched on him yet. He seems to be popular, kind of like James Cook. Like sometimes he goes a little higher than you think he might. Theo, you seem.
So for me, like, I have 0 shares of Spiller, and I would have thought that Spiller was like really weird. It was like the whole. I think if we were predicting the first round the day the Super Bowl ended, and we polled all of us and we said, what's the percentage chance Isaiah Spiller goes in the first round of your rookie drafts? I think we probably would have said close to 100%. Yeah. And then he kept losing value and losing value and losing value. Then the draft happens, and it seems like people had pretty much made up their mind that, like, pre-draft he's a second round rookie pick. Like, people weren't banging the drums for him to be a first-round pick unless he landed perfectly. He lands on day 3, and then all of a sudden he has this, like, revival, and he ends up going in some late first rounds, early second rounds over a number of running backs who I think are in better situations. It's like people don't know what to make of Spiller. Like, I get, like, he's on the Chargers. Okay, like, maybe you could talk yourself into the fact that he's the handcuff for Eckler. I think he's different than Eckler. But it's like he didn't really land that well. They picked him in the 4th round. He was the 123rd pick in this draft. So it's like, I don't understand it. Maybe you guys can explain this one to me.
Let's start out with this, Theo. What, like, who landed better in your mind as far as the running backs not named Kenneth Walker or Breece Hall?
I think that Davis Price landed better. I think if we want to go to finding a guy with I think, like we talked about, Rashad White, who most drafts I think went higher than Spiller. But we did see leagues where Spiller went higher than White. I've seen those. Mm-hmm. And I think that you could say they're the same tier. Like, to me, like, White, you could see White having his day one role as some sort of a pass, like a Giovanni Bernard on steroids if he has a really good preseason. Like, you could see him having a role early. Right. I would say, and I don't have much of it either, but I'll say, like, Pierce and Algier, at least you can see them having a more clear path. And I'll say Davis Price as well. So, like, to me, it's like Spiller. Like, I just, that was the one I don't get the valuation people have with Spiller.
Dan, where are you going with that? Because I'm interested, because I have a take there too. I want you to go to your question.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can put Cook above him. I can put Rashad White above him. Damian Pierce. I mean, it's an open opportunity. But then you get to, like, Brian Robinson. I have a hard time putting Robinson above Spiller. Zamir White, I have a hard time putting him above Spiller, though it's close. Tyler Allgeier, have a hard time putting him above Spiller. Davis Price, I mean, how many times has Shanahan pounded the table for a particular running back and then just treats him like dirt? I did take a share or two of Davis Price, but I had to force myself to do it. I'll put it that way. So for me, Spiller was, like, about probably the 5th running back in this class.
Yeah, I can see that, but I still think that, like, let's put it like this: did you ever see him go at 210? I feel like it was always somebody taking him early second. I never saw really late second.
Definitely.
I took him at 203 in a draft.
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up now.
And to kind of clear that one up, I had I took Breece Hall at the 101. I took Pickens at the 110. I took David Bell at the 201, and I took Spiller at the 203 because I didn't want to get too heavy on wide receivers in that draft, so I felt like I had to pivot over to running back there because I had needs at both. So, basically Jahan Dotson or Spiller was kind of the choice, or maybe Alec Pierce or Spiller. And I just decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and take Spiller here at the 203.
So funny you say that, Dan. Theo, the league that you just joined, the one I'm 3-time champion. I don't know if you heard, but the 14th and the 15th pick, I'm guessing that's 202, 203, right, Dan? I had back-to-back picks there for whatever reason through trades, and I grabbed Dotson and Spiller. Just because thinking in my head, like, I'm not big on these guys, but if there's a league where I'm going to risk taking these guys, and they fell into the second round, I'm like, I'll take them. Rashad White had gone off the board. James Cook had gone off the board. Damian Pierce went off right after. He's someone I definitely considered there. But yeah, I think Dotson and Spiller is a good one, Dan, to choose, that people probably had to choose on the clock.
Right. And to be fair, part of the reason maybe why I took Spiller was I had traded away Austin Eckler in that league. And so, I was hoping for the Schadenfreude of, Eckler somehow losing a ton of work to Spiller, through whatever reason, and me being able to laugh all the way to the bank. But, I don't think that's going to happen. But Andrew,
I think that's the argument that Wheeler just put up on the board is I can easily talk myself into Justin Jackson, isn't great. Josh Kelly isn't great. They had another third guy last year. I can't remember his name. Obviously wasn't great. Like we know they're actually being smart with Eckler's usage. Now, obviously they're not getting like the premium touches and the goal line and the passing down work, but they're clearly mixing people in. And I think that I could talk myself into, although I guess I only got one share. But I think that Spiller landed actually probably pretty great in terms of like the team trajectory and the expected usage in year one. I think that there's a real role year one for him in Los Angeles.
No, I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong for Dan's sake. I just think it's, we've seen backs like Josh Kelly, Larry Roundtree.
And may I point out, Austin Eckler did turn 27 years old today.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Austin Eckler. No doubt about it.
We'll say, like, if Austin Eckler went to, like, the doctor and they do, like, your real life age, Austin Eckler's, like, 23. He looks, the guy's just, all he does is work out. And right. his game is tailor-made to, like, get old with, like, dump off passes, and he's very efficient. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see for sure.
Well, here's the thing with Eckler. Next year they can cut him. They would lose 1.5 on the cap and save 5.75 against the cap. So he is cuttable next year, and that did factor into my decision. His contract is still his cap numbers just 7.25 next year, which is a very, if he's playing well, they're gonna keep him without a doubt. But if anything happens, if the wheels start to fall off in any way, shape, or form, I think Spiller gets very interesting.
Who else but the GOATs can go 12 minutes on Isaiah Spiller?
It was for sure an interesting one. What was did you have a favorite second round rookie running back? It would be Rashad White, right? That's your guy.
Yeah, probably White. I like Zamir White too. Whenever he was available in that middle-ish of the second round, I just like as much as I like Josh Jacobs this year more than most, just because you got to figure they're just going to run him through the dirt in that offense, being at the end of the contract. But yeah, Zamir White just has an opportunity. Like them coming into the draft, so the landing spot doesn't hurt him, in my opinion. So I like getting him. He's one of the handful of guys that I have multiples of.
I like Zamir White. I think Zamir White. I'm glad you brought him up. I ended up with some Zamir White. I think I have 4 shares of Zamir White, including one where Andrew and I got him in the third round of a triflex draft. it's interesting. I think might be completely off Josh Jacobs, and it's not because Zamir White's this uber talent. I just think they draft Zamir White in the 4th. You're going to have potentially Drake healthy. I just think it's going to be like more of a committee type backfield, and I think that if Josh Jacobs is going to return at ADP, it's going to be because he caught a lot of passes, and that could be kind of like, I think he could be a guy who maybe catches a few more passes than we think, but it seems so consolidated with Renfro, Adams, Waller. It doesn't seem like it's going to be like a dump off to Josh Jacobs type year. But Zamir's interesting. Like, they didn't extend Josh Jacobs. They're putting all this money into, a few other positions. Like, Zamir year 2 could be super interesting. Like, Dan's thought on Spiller is kind of like my thought on White. And I think this year, I feel like when it comes down to like August and we're drafting like main event teams and stuff, I feel like Zamir White we're going to talk ourselves into as like a handcuff guy we want to have in that that back half of the first round, because if Josh Jacobs goes down, Zamir White could be super interesting on an offense that we all think is going to be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be drowning in Spiller, Zamir White, and Rashad White main event time.
Nice.
I feel like those are going to be like 8, 9, 10 round picks, and I'm just going to be living that life in August and September.
That dirty life. Before we move to the next, guys, let's give a quick shout out to our favorite site, the FFPC. Right now, you can do all kinds on there, guys. You could play for what do we got? $1 million, $500,000. We've got what's the super flex right now? You've got a $35 super flex best ball tournament. I mean, how fun is that, right? You're used to doing the $35 leagues out of 12 teams. Now you can shoot some of those into the tournament, man. Maybe get yourself a nice little prize, build up the bankroll, start playing in leagues with Theo, those bigger buy-ins with Dan and Andrew. Guys, go check out myffpc.com. Best ball redraft tournament, Dynasty, Terminator leagues, like you name it. Pros versus Joes, they've got it. Superflex, Triflex, those RotoViz Dynasty Triflex leagues are the 101 right now, in my opinion, when it comes to, hey, I feel like joining a new Dynasty league. If you've been playing Dynasty for a while, that's the 101 for me. It's got a lot of different components to get my brain thinking again, which I like. So check it out, myffpc.com. If you're not already on there, guys, make sure you tag one of us. We'll hook you up with a sign-up bonus for up to $35, where you can actually get into that tournament or into one of these leagues that we're talking about.
And I'll add, JD, a main event early bird special, $100
That's right.
off. And if you get in early, you can face off against call it Dan and Friends, the GOAT District Pro entry in the Pros versus Joes at the FFPC.
That's right. That's right.
No, can't forget that.
So Dan, tell me about that real quick.
Yeah, so we are in the Pros versus Joes. Basically, it's if you're entered into the main event, you get for every entry you get basically like a lottery ticket or whatever for the Pros versus Joes. So if you enter 5 times, you'll get 5 lottery tickets, and then they'll draw. We have, I think, 36 pros, or it might be 42 pros now, because there's 7 leagues. So there's in each league there will be 6 pros and then 6 Joes. So there'll be 42 pros total across 7 leagues, and there'll be 42 Joes. So they're going to draw 42 names out of the hat, out of everybody who's registered for main events by, I think it's the early bird deadline in May 31st. And you can compete against the pros and see how you do. And the GOAT District, the 4 of us, are going to combine. And between us, we're going to assemble, what is it, Voltron or something like that?
Yeah, Voltron.
So that's the goal, is we're gonna assemble together, form Voltron, and draft the super GOAT team of all time and crush everybody in the Pros versus Joes.
No doubt.
I love that Voltron back in the day.
I did want to. JD brought up Damian Pierce. I feel like we should touch on him because it's a guy we haven't talked about like a ton. Did you guys draft any Damian Pierce?
None. Always missed out on him. Was always taking like a David Bell, a Trey McBride, and Alec Pierce, to be honest with you, over Damian Pierce. in those ranges.
Oh, go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, no, I just want to talk about real quick the we've been talking about kind of that period or that area of the draft, but for me, it was like if you were taking James Cook, Rashad White, Damian Pierce, even sometimes Isaiah Spiller, it means you were probably giving up on one of George Pickens, David Bell, maybe Jahan Dotson, and for running backs like that was just too hard for me to do. Yeah. For the most part, like I say, I did get the one Spiller share, but I would take Pickens or Bell over those guys any day of the week.
Agreed.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you for sure. Pierce was just like, I got him once at like a 209, and I took him one other time. I just think it's going to be kind of like fool's gold. Some people are really going into Pierce. It's like, do we really think Lovie Smith, after being in retirement, like older Lovie Smith, is going to come back to the NFL and just turn it over to Damian Pierce? I don't see it. And I feel like it's one of those things where even if you do get him as like the back who's there on the first series, it's going to probably end up being like a committee, and you're going to end up with like running back 35. He'll be like an RB3, and you're just going to be sitting on some guy who's not going to ever really return that much value. And like we've seen these 4th round picks, they get replaced. So even if Damien Pierce comes in and has a useful type year where maybe you're able to get a couple of starts out of him, next year in another draft, you just see the Texans take another back. It's like Michael Carter all over again type situation. So I don't know. I feel like people are getting their hopes up on him.
I think if you're doing rookie drafts properly, you're going for upside. Andrew talked about Alec Pierce. Maybe it's the Colt in me, but again, like it's a lottery ticket, right? And which lottery are you going to buy into? The one with the biggest bang, right? The one that's going to give you the biggest win if you win. As much as the chances might be less of it hitting, you still want that ceiling. And that's why I think Damian Pierce, for some of the fantasy players out there, including, us on the screen, it's hard when you're deciding, like, do I want a guy who can pop with Tom Brady in that Tampa Bay offense, that offensive line, or do I want a guy that in an offense that might look better or the same that it did last year in Houston?
And just to stay on running backs, and I like, can we go a little bit deeper? Because I know there's going to be some good names on this one.
You going Pacheco?
Who are some running backs that you drafted a lot of that
Pacheco.
maybe weren't like if you want to go in the 3rd round, that's fine, but maybe guys in like that 4th, 5th round range, throw in a 3rd rounder. Is there a guy that you end up drafting a lot of that you're holding a lot of lottery tickets of the same guy? Andrew, you're shaking your head yes. Who's your guy?
I'm looking at it here. I missed a ton of that like 3rd and 4th round tier. I missed a ton of Brian. I missed a ton of Brian Robinson, 0. Tyler Algier, basically 0. Pierre Strong, 0. Jerome Ford, 0.
Tyler Algier's name has to be All G. The All G. Like I have 0 chairs, but I was like, that guy's name has to be All G.
But you don't have 0 shares. We did get him in the hard way. So
we got him in the hard way. There we go. Yeah. Nice. So now he's for sure All G. Come on.
But I ended up getting a ton of the Isaiah Pacheco, Keontae Ingram, Snoop Connor, and then Kevin Harris group. So I sort of weaved in and out because I think that Pacheco and Keontae were about like late 3rd, 4th rounders. And then I left the running back crew again, and then came back with that Snoop Connor, Kevin Harris, but missed almost every other running back in between. So just ended up having a ton of those 4: Pacheco, Ingram, Snoop, and Kevin Harris.
Yeah, Pacheco for me, and then what's his name? Ty Chandler is someone I grabbed at the end of any draft where he was lingering. We had Sean Siegel talking about Ty Chandler. So it just made me want to get him even more at that point. So got a couple more shares after that.
Yeah, I got a ton of Snoop. I also grabbed some Hassan Haskins.
Yes, I have a trade for that.
Yeah, just based on it's it's Derrick Henry. He's close to 1,500 carries. The wheels are probably falling off soon. So,
yeah, I'm glad to hear Dan was also on Haskins. I have a ton of Haskins. I'm looking at my ownership. I have 7 Haskins shares now across Dynasty. So like, I'm with Dan. Like, I feel like, Hilliard's still there, but I feel like if there was a direct backup, it's going to be Haskins. They took him in the 4th round. He had some really good moments at Michigan. He's got like where he hurdled the Ohio State player in the end of that big win. Like, it's easy to kind of galaxy brain your way to thinking like Hassan Haskins is going to be another guy we draft and redraft. I got a ton of Tyler Batty. I coattailed a few very smart people on Tyler Batty, and I just started drafting him because he's always there. And you could kind of, convince yourself that he could end up having a role in Baltimore of some sort. The Baltimore beat writers have thrown out Ray Rice's name as a guy stylistically, a former Raven he compares to. And then I jumped on the Andrew Snoop Connor bandwagon. I got a ton of Snoop, but Haskins is the one that kind of excites me the most, and probably the one that I had to use the highest draft capital. For me, he was a 4th round guy. Maybe occasionally you saw him fall into the 5th. Never had to take him in the 3rd, but you're basically getting a backup to a guy who's got a ton of usage in his career. Basically a direct backup, in my opinion. So I think he's just great value in Dynasty right now.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And for the non-rookies, I took a fair amount of Eno Benjamin for the same reason.
Yeah.
Deonta Foreman for me.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of rookie
yeah,
guys.
I think we all have a lot of Deonta Foreman.
Deonta Foreman. Yeah.
Best
I
ball.
agree. I was splitting Dan between the Eno and the Keontae Ingram because I don't know the answer there. So I was just, I don't know, a little bit of this, a little bit of that on the both of them.
I'm going to, Theo,
one of those two is going to steam. I feel like once it's people are taking shots on Eno and Keontae. It's the exact kind of bet you should be making.
Yeah.
Because by the end of the summer, one of those guys is going to be the backup to Connor, and you're going to feel great about it. Ingram's super interesting because he played with Bijan Robinson, and it's Bijan Robinson's going to be the 101 for us next year, and he happened to just be with Bijan. But you can kind of convince yourself on Keontae, and I'm an Eno Benjamin fan, but Keontae is super interesting. So I think that's a great bet to make on one of those two guys.
Mm-hmm. You can probably get both. You could probably get both at the back end of best balls.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I was just gonna sneak one of our, I know we're gonna talk trades later, but I made a move. Wheeler threw it on there. I sent him Penny, who actually Dan and I made a move with Penny as well. We'll talk about later. But I sent Rashad Penny and Davis Price for Haskins, a 23 second, and was that it? And a 23 fifth. Or sorry, 23 fourth. So a 23 second was really what I was after. So he threw in Haskins, and I sent them Penny and Davis Price. Kind of a Reno mode team that I'm working on.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm not sure who I like. That I feel like that's I could see the Wheeler side winning on that one, or I could see your side winning. That's a very good trade because I'm sure Wheeler likes Davis Price as well. So he got 2 running backs.
There it is.
Penny. Yeah,
I sniped him on him, so he wanted him back, and I already had a couple shares, so I was like, all right, let's make a
That's
deal.
the best feeling in the world, isn't it?
Sniping someone, that's great, especially when they admit to it.
Especially when they tell you right away.
So, Theo, I don't know if this is where we're going, but I guess other players we have multiple shares of. I was totally missing some of those other running backs that I mentioned because I was taking one player in that 4th, 5th round, and he was even slipping to the 6th round. I have 2/3 of my FFPC exposure, 10 out of 15 leagues, is on one player. Theo, I think I already told you the answer. Dan, JD, do you have any guesses on what this player is? I think you guys may be on the similar track as me of taking this guy too when he fell.
I'm actually not sure on this one, Andrew.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay, all right. Add you to the guess.
Oh, was it Matchy or whatever his name is?
No, John Mechie. No.
Mechie?
David Bell?
No. Third, 4th round. Slips sometimes in the 5th, 6th.
Oh,
It's got to be a receiver.
Yeah.
In the The 5-6 is throwing me off. Oh, I know. It's Tyquan Thornton.
Of course
Tyquan Thornton.
Oh yeah,
Tyquan
yes.
Thornton,
Yes.
he was
New England.
dropping for me sometimes in the 6th round,
Yes.
and I just
insane.
couldn't stop taking him. 5th, 6th. I'm gonna figure out like all the draft picks that I took him. Again, I need that data from the FFPC at my fingertips. But
we took him in our triflex.
Yes.
I think it's and Dan
you took him in the
brought him up
triflex.
with
Dan and I
the-
took him in our triflex startup. I
Yep.
could not stop taking him, and it was like I never felt for a second that I was reaching on him. It always like made sense if you looked at the draft capital and the other players around him. It was always like, well,
Well, I'm a sucker. I took him at 307 of the OG GOAT. So
I don't even think that's like reaching though.
I
No,
took him. I used the 3rd round pick on Tyquan Thornton. Also,
Yeah.
it's just
I have
Yeah, I got
I have
it.
Mac Jones too in that league. So the
I got
hashtag
it.
always be stacking kind of.
308, 401, and 507.
and we should let Dan kind of break down his game.
Yeah,
But
please.
This is
Do it.
fundamentally such like I feel like a mistake. Just without even thinking about what he is as a player, they traded up to get him. They used high draft capital on him, and it's a wide receiver room that we would all agree is pretty open. So whatever you thought of Thornton a month ago should be out the window. As a fantasy player, you've got to pivot a little bit. I heard one analyst say, like, he was so mad about the pick and he didn't want Thornton because they thought Thornton would be a 6th round draft pick and the Patriots just made a terrible mistake. I'm like, we don't know more than the Patriots do. Like, the Patriots
Right.
know their system. And maybe, Dan, you could talk a little bit about Thornton, the player, because he's not a Tutu Atwell. He's like a guy who
No.
could have a real role.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, he's, like I think his upside would be, kind of a Deshaun Jackson type of player. I mean, he's got good hands. He tracks the ball well. He's able to release from the line of scrimmage. The main problem that he had was that, Baylor's quarterbacks his senior year were just not great. So he had lots of times where he was wide open. I mean, I watched pretty much every Baylor game, for the last couple of years for sure. And, it was just clear that he was well above anybody else on the team as far as, like what he could do. And the quarterbacks were looking for him often. They just couldn't often hit him. But I like the fact that he's got good hands. I like the fact that he can track the ball well. And I like the fact that he can get off the line of scrimmage, even when he's being pressed by a cornerback. So, if you've got those 3 things, and I think that's just, and then that speed on top of it, I think that's exactly what, the Patriots were looking at. And, according to some of the, like some of the stuff I saw in The Athletic, there were other teams that would have taken him not long after the Patriots. He was probably going in the late 2nd, early 3rd, almost no matter what. So it totally made sense to, where the Patriots took it. I'm sure that they knew what other teams were thinking about him. So, they were just going to jump on him first. And I get why he's falling, because everybody likes to trash the Patriots wide receivers. I mean, the Patriots cannot draft wide receivers, right? We all know this. It's an absolute fact. The Patriots cannot draft wide receivers. But when you can start getting him in the late 3rd, the 4th, the 5th round of your rookie drafts, all that risk is baked in. It's all baked in.
Yeah. What's the hit rate on a 4th round rookie pick?
Right, exactly.
If you go through-
if you're taking Romeo Dubes or Khalil Shakir or somebody like that over Tyquan Thornton, you're just doing fantasy wrong. I mean, you're doing dynasty wrong. Just shouldn't do it.
I just want to.
Go ahead, Andrew.
No, I was just going to brag. I'm going to brag. I'm going to do a full brag breakdown after a quote tweet this episode. But 1250 Theo, that's you and I, 405, a 750, 607, a 750, 505, 750, 410, and then 750, Dan, we got him in our startup at the 1512. Like, that's just like, in terms of bets you want to be, like, that's, I just love it. I don't know why he kept slipping. Like, that's 4, 6, 5, 4. It's crazy. Crazy.
Yeah. It's absolutely the kind of bet you want to make over and over and over again.
Yeah, and it's like a shout out to like the Jordan McNamara talking about like, the draft capital put in should say a lot about where our rookie draft picks go. It's like the community just completely ignored it with Thornton. It's like they were just done with it. So I don't know. I think the range of outcomes, it's like it's almost a no-brainer type pick. And I'm glad we have a lot of them. And hey, if it doesn't work out, you cut him, and it's a guy that you probably would have cut anyway. So
Right.
it's a no-brainer bet. Dan talked about Garrett Wilson, not having any Garrett Wilson. Was there a particular player that you loved that you feel like you didn't get any of, and it could really burn you long-term in Dynasty? Like a guy that you think could be very successful, and it just didn't happen share-wise for you?
Mine are, I talked real quick. Mine are London that I missed out on, and Williams are the two. Yeah, are the two guys that I wish I had pieces of, if not multiples.
For me, I got a few Chris Olave shares, but not quite as much as I would have thought. There was a couple of leagues where like Jameson fell to I always figured like Olave's like the guy I would consider it like the 107, but for whatever reason, like when Williams fell there, it was like an auto pick for me. But I think like Olave, I don't have quite enough Olave, and then Sky Moore. I don't have nearly enough Sky Moore. It didn't happen for me, and I ended up going. We'll probably talk about James Cook, but there was a few leagues where I went James Cook over Sky Moore based on rosters and stuff like that. So
I don't know if I would do that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Smack your hand.
I just had a real bad reaction to that. I hated that.
Yeah,
I'm not sure we can share any
I don't like that.
Theo. I don't know.
I mean, listen, we can talk a little bit more about it. But it was just like maybe twice I went Cook over Moore.
What's the thought process on that? Why would you go James Cook there? Just curious.
Team structure, and then a lot of the times I took James Cook, I had already maybe taken a wide receiver or two. It's just kind of the way it fell for me. So I had an early wide receiver. I added a running back, and I think that we could get James Cook out of the way right now. James Cook, I ended up taking some bets on. To me, I can see the kind of the apprehension with Cook and some people not trying to get into it. But I think Buffalo really wants him to be a thing. And I think that Singletary's there this year, but I think in a year, Singletary could be gone. They used a second-round draft pick on Cook after trying to sign J.D. McKissick. There was a last-minute thing where he ends up back in Washington. And then they tried to trade for Christian McCaffrey. They've done everything they can do to try to get a pass-catching back. And they go ahead and take Cook in the second round. So to me, it's like Buffalo is making this bet on using running backs as pass catchers more. This is the guy they want it to be with. And I think that there's a chance that James Cook could be a very good fantasy asset. I think there's also, for sure a chance he busts. But to me, it's a bet I was willing to take. And I'm slightly bullish on him right now. And I do think he's a guy he's going to gain value this year as well in fantasy. I think he's the kind of guy that's going to flash in like a high scoring offense. So I'm into kind of James Cook right now.
Theo, James Cook over Sky Moore. We honestly, sorry, man.
This was an on occasion.
Well, that's
just once or twice. But so
I don't love the on occasion, Theo. I don't like hearing that. Like the ones
I don't want to.
The ones I've been, he slipped and fell, and then accidentally clicked it. Like the second one, it's like, what? That has me worried.
Yeah.
So I'll say Sky Moore. Like to me, the Sky Moore one is like, I had him behind Olave.
He's the best lottery ticket.
I'm Olave over Sky Moore, and I don't think he's quite a lottery ticket. Like I saw Sky Moore going as like the 107 in some leagues. Mm-hmm. Some leagues he'd go 108. It's not like you were getting Sky Moore. Like if Sky Moore is there at the tail end of the first round, that's great. But I don't think most people like. What's the lowest Sky Moore share you got?
Well, that's it. What's
for me?
I want to ask Dan a little bit differently.
I mean, how high did you push James Cook to have to take him over Sky Moore?
The highest I took James. So the highest I took James Cook was at the 108.
Okay, so
Cook
Sky
at the
Moore
108
fall to the 109 in a couple weeks. Then.
Yeah, 109 is the earliest I saw him.
In that particular league that I took James Cook at the 108. I had the 103 and the 104. I took Treylon Burks and I took Drake London. And that team, I also made that a trade to get. It was, we don't need to go into the full roster, but the wide receiver core is pretty loaded. Jamar Chase, Burks London, Elijah Moore, Cortland Sutton, and then I ended up adding David Bell in the second round. So like that team is loaded. What running back wise, I needed a running back, and I feel like James Cook was a reasonable bet. I think for all the James Cook is going to be an interesting one, but I think that if we just take a step back and look at what the Bills are trying to do as a team with adding the pass catching running back, we all agree the offense is going to score a ton of points. I think Cook is going to flash year one, and I think he's going to have a role. And I'm not so sure that Sky Moore is going to be like some massive star in this league.
But Theo, think about between now and that week one, the value that guy's going to build, man. Especially that first highlight.
Twitter videos.
Oh, come on.
No, I like Sky Moore, but if you're telling me Sky Moore versus Jordan, if you're like for me, Sky Moore versus Pickens, if I'm OTC, I'm considering Pickens, and it's not like I'm anti-Sky Moore, but I don't like Sky Moore as much as I liked Olave. If it's Olave versus Sky Moore for me, I liked Olave just a little bit more. So I know we love the Kansas City landing spot, but Juju's there as well. I think I'm kind of on team buying a little bit slightly low on Juju because people are so into Sky Moore right now in Dynasty more than feeling like Sky Moore is going to completely crush me in this league. I have a little bit of Sky Moore, so it's not like I completely miss out, but I feel like I have a better chance of being burned by not having as much Olave as I do not enough Sky Moore. That's just my personal take on those two guys.
I don't disagree with that. I just think with Pickens, I love Pickens. I'm a sucker for Pittsburgh receivers, and I think he has one of the highest ceilings. I just think that at a certain point, you got to go with everyone else's perception. And Sky Moore's versus Pickens, they're going Sky Moore, so it's just more liquid. You know what I mean? As a piece on your roster, especially at this time of year, like I said, with all the hype that could build up. But again, who knows?
And I do think James Cook is going to gain some value as well. All it takes is a couple of James Cook at practice, catching a pass, looking elusive, and his role being talked up a little bit.
I just like how he keeps pushing Singletary's value down. That's what I like. I just want that Singletary value to keep going down. So I keep drafting receivers early and then pick up Singletary.
Yeah, I think with James Cook, I mean, what you're looking for is the Amir Abdullah highlight run in preseason.
Oh yeah, damn! Did we not get burned from that one? I think I still have a scar on my ass. I think from that one, Dan. I remember having a discussion with someone in the DMs till very late in the morning, and this was Christian McCaffrey versus Amir Abdullah before McCaffrey got drafted. Damn.
Yep. Yeah, that's gonna leave a mark.
So Andrew had to step out, guys. He has a business to attend to, so we appreciate him jumping in tonight. We always love getting the Schellenberg takes. But he's traveling the world.
Turns off their internet around 8:30, 8:45, something like that on Central Time.
You got to pay extra for it after 8 o'clock.
Yep, and we know Andrew can't afford to pay extra for it. So
I wanted to also touch on tight ends. Did you guys get a lot of Trey McBride? And I know I added a little bit of Jelani Woods. I know Dan did as well. Maybe you want to touch on that as well, Dan?
Yeah, so I got 0 Trey McBride. That was pretty much just kind of the way it fell for my drafts, because in the leagues where I had access to him at a reasonable cost, he just wasn't the best fit for my teams. So it wasn't anything that was like I disliked him or anything like that. He just was not the right fit at the right time for my teams. And of course, in the FFPC, it's really hard to carry tight ends, for a couple of years waiting for him to hit. So, even though I think he'd probably hit pretty quickly, if I don't think I'm going to be playing him, or I wouldn't ever need to play him in the first year, I'm probably not going to take a tight end. with a pick like that. So I did take Jelani Moore 3 times, twice in FFPC and once in the money league, where it's we have to start 2 tight ends, plus we have to we also get 1.75 tight end premium.
Yeah.
So, and that's a team that JD and I share. I basically held JD down, twisted his arm, told him I was not going to let him up until he agreed to take Jelani Woods.
Hard to do as a Colts fan, right? Right, Dan?
Right.
With a Colts fan.
So, but I
was
think
trying
Woods
to trade
is a
for
great
that one. Where you guys got Woods, I was trying to trade for that one too.
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
a great pick.
I was gonna say with Woods and a lot of these like later, deeper pieces, especially tight end, how we see, like Dan said, like even if you think they're gonna pop early, there's a really good chance they won't. So I think like MFL leagues, that we play in, where we have deeper rosters, you've got 25, 30 guys deep. Those are the guys you want to grab. Dolchik, the guy out in Denver, Woods in Indy. But like Dan said, when you're playing FFPC, man, like that's why I'm trying to get myself certain pieces. And then after that, I'm trying to trade out to as many future picks as I can, because I know most chances are you're going to drop a lot of these guys when it's cut down time.
So Trey McBride, I ended up drafting a lot of. And I'm
I'm going
to try to carry him this year. I think that there's a chance he flashes big time early, because we have D-Hops, out for those 6 games. I think they could potentially use, Ertz and McBride at the same time. So I'm interested and I like the Jelani Woods call. I drafted a few shares of Jelani Woods, and I think you're getting him at a point where either your roster is a complete rebuild type, maybe you carry him, or maybe the Colts tight end position is super interesting right now, because I think between Granson and Woods, there'll be a guy we're drafting, and I think we got to kind of like read the tea leaves this offseason. But Woods is such an athletic guy. You could kind of get into it, and I agree that on the MFL, if you have a deep dynasty league, like Woods is almost a no-brainer. He's at a value where you're not like spending a fortune to get him. You could see a scenario where he's going to be the best tight end in this draft. One tight end that I drafted quite a bit of, and I only had to use like a 7th round pick on him. I don't think I ever took him higher than like the end of the 6th, but was
the Jets guy.
You know what? Let me just pull up one thing. I'm going to try to pull up. It's Ruckert, but I ended up with 6 shares of Ruckert. So Ruckert was like I feel like the Jets tight end room right now, it's like it looks like a tight end by committee, but Ruckert I think could end up being a guy that kind of gets a little steam in the summertime. And like you said, it's a guy you took in the 7th round, so you're just taking shots anyway. But I think his landing spot was kind of sneaky good. That offense is set to have a tight end getting looks. And I think that they got him at a good value, and he's got the shout out Long Island. He's a Long Island guy, so the Jets getting him. It's like a great.
They brought
story.
in what? Uzuma?
Yeah. They got Uzuma. Yep.
And Tyler Conklin.
Yep.
That's right. Who had a decent season last year out in Minnesota.
Sure.
And Dan, I think we've got a couple of shirts we're working on right now, but we definitely have to do a rookie tight ends matter with Theo's like Twitter handle on the back or something, because man, he loves himself some rookie tight ends.
Yes, he does.
Just like a Mount Rushmore with like Kyle Pitts real large, and then next to him is Freiermuth and Trey McBride.
I don't know. I think Muth might even have to be the first one on there, but yeah, I think that's actually not a bad idea. We got to get that the graphics team on that one for sure.
Yep.
No, for sure. And
Andrew's intern will work on that.
Was there any other big trades that you made during your rookie drafts that maybe involved veterans? I know you touched on like the Penny trade.
Yeah, I made a bunch actually. I've been getting more active in rookie drafts. I think that's part of my game. 3-4 years ago, where I said, you know what, I'm maybe not working on enough, and I've really made an effort. FFPC Dino, I sent the 208 and the 211 for a 23 first, the 410, the 510. Again, I'm just trying to move up in the following year if I'm not, happy with anything that's sitting there at the end of the second. Dan and I sent, again, just kind of, you'll notice the pattern here. We sent a 304 for a 23 second. in Pros versus Joes in the same league. Actually, this is an actual trade. We sent DJ Moore for Mooney, Rondale Moore, and Evan Ingram. That's with, I believe, is that with Sean and
Sean and
Curtis Patrick from Rotoviz. That's right.
Yep.
And then we also sent the 207. This is one we actually worked out at the end of the show when Sean was on. But if for those who missed that, go back and check it out. But the trade was sent the 207, the 303, the 23 third for Penny, and a 23 second. Dan and I were desperately in need of running back.
Yes.
And to get Penny at his price with a 23 second to move a couple thirds and this year's mid to latest second, we thought was a good move, and we made that happen.
Yeah, basically it ends up being, like if you say the 207 and the 2023 second are equivalent, then it's Penny for the 303 and the 2023 third, which I think is a totally acceptable price to pay.
And then Dan and I moved again, kind of along the same lines. We moved the 408. What is this, Dan? Oh, we moved up for the 305. Who did we grab at 305?
That's where we took Jelani Woods.
That's when we grabbed Wood. So again, like Dan said, because it's a 2 tight end, right? So we have rare occasions that we moved up. And here's a nice trade, Theo, that you were asking more about vets. We made this trade happen. We moved David Montgomery and Gerald Everett for Saquon Barkley and one of your boys, Brevin Jordan.
You stole that one.
I was like slamming Dan in every. I think I've never tagged Dan in multiple DMs just because I try to respect his space and his time. But I was like, Dan, I'm ready to smash accept this thing. Come on.
Yep.
That's just like if you're. It's a terrible. It's a theft by you and Dan. That's like a tip of the hat from one trader to another on that one. That's a very good trade.
Yeah, and we can't even really take that much credit for it because it was offered to us.
I was gonna say those are the best when they just fall in your lap, and it's just like, oh, I was thinking that. Perfect.
Yep.
It's almost like one of those trades where you want to get on and make sure that you're not missing something, and a guy got injured this morning. But that's a great trade. I made one interesting trade. I traded so basically I had made that Clyde Edwards-Helaire trade to move up. We talked about this a while ago. I think when Scott Connor was on the show, I traded the 111 CEH, the 303 to get the 106 and the 207. So it kind of had a higher pick. I ended up taking Garrett Wilson at the 106, and then Jamison Williams was on the board at the 107. So I ended up trading Keenan Allen and the 211 to get the 107 and the 305.
Dude, I like that.
Took Jamison Williams. Yeah, so this is a guy who'd wanted Keenan Allen for me for a while. And it kind of was like, this team, I am very deep at wide receiver. Keenan Allen would be a guy I'd love to have this year. I'm going to chase the championship this year, but to get a Jamison Williams essentially for a Keenan Allen, it was a no-brainer for me in Dynasty, to get a wide receiver who we're very high on for a guy that, is going to be probably out of the league in 3 years anyway. So, and certainly Keenan Allen, you could see him having maybe one more really, really good year and then kind of losing a ton of value. So it was
who were your other receivers? Who were your other receivers on this contending roster?
This team is loaded at wide receiver. This was AJ Brown.
But he's like Allen's like your receiver 4 or 5 or something, right?
So yeah, any way you want to cut it, he's starting every week, but he's not a guy that's essential to his success. So that was kind of my most interesting trade. Was getting that Jamison Williams Keenan Allen trade, which I was really pleased with that.
I like that. I like that move. Dan, you have any interesting?
Yeah, so I have a couple of them. One, this one I know I've mentioned before, and I did it actually just before the NFL draft. J.K. Dobbins in the 110 for A.J. Brown. And that was before A.J. Brown got traded. So, it it didn't turn out quite like I thought, but on the other hand, I'm still pretty happy with it. So no complaints there. I had one trade where somebody wanted to move up from the 302 to the 211. And so I gave him my 2023 third and got a 2023 second out of it. So I got bumped up into the second round next year for moving down 3 spots.
Those are the best.
Oh yeah, in a very flat tier. I traded, in a team where I didn't really have that elite quarterback. I traded Justin Fields and 207 for Jalen Hurts. So I like that one a lot because I think, and this is one quarterback too. So, Justin Fields is really borderline as whether he'll even be rostered or not. I could see Justin Fields actually making his way onto the waiver wire in that league, which, means I would have essentially traded the 207 for Jalen Hurts. So, and I think if I'd owned Justin Fields, he probably would have made it onto the waiver wire. So I definitely like that one. And then let's see, we did, no, I shouldn't say we did. This was in one league, I pre-draft, I traded Rashad Bateman for a 2023 second and Albert O, which felt real good at the time up until, Hollywood got traded away. So that one didn't turn out quite as good as I had hoped. Also pre-draft in that same league, I traded A.J. Dillon in the 312 for L-Jax in the 208. And that was another place where it was single quarterback. I needed an elite quarterback, so I went out and got him. And then I had a ton of second-round picks in that same league, so I traded Irv Smith, the 204, and the 205 for Hawkinson.
Dan, you talk about going for Lamar and moving up. I find like tight end and quarterback are the 2 positions that I'll go to once I've built up my receiving and running back core to a competitive level. At what point do you decide you need to upgrade your quarterback into 1 QB?
I'm always looking to make that move. If I don't have that elite quarterback, I'm looking to make it either by, burning, a second round pick in a better quarterback class. I would have burned a second round pick on a quarterback. Right.
Or even early third sometimes. You can score.
Even early third. But, this year I saw the way the quarterbacks had broken. So I was like, okay, if I want to move up, I'm going to have to use, I'm going to have to take that pick that I would have spent on a quarterback, and I'm going to have to add something to it and then go out and get one of those elite guys, and then I try to target the one, like if some guy's got Jackson and Kyler Murray, that's who I'm targeting. Is somebody who's got 2 elite quarterbacks, or I'm almost making their life easier because they don't have to sit there and try to make that decision every week.
I think that with quarterbacks, especially in like FFPC dynasties, you get the elite quarterback when the situation presents itself where you're not overpaying for it. Because even if you're in some sort of a rebuild, getting a guy like Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson is not going to hurt your rebuild. And I think oftentimes you do see situations where, like in these 20-man roster leagues like Dan brought up, where a guy has 2 very good quarterback options and he's kind of stuck. I had one league this year where I had a bunch of first-round picks and I traded the 111 straight up for Kyler Murray. It was like a no-brainer for me that the guy wanted to do it. And like, even if my team is rebuilding, I'll have Kyler Murray in a year with a bunch of, hopefully guys that gain value. And then I had one league this year where I took on a cheap orphan with a bunch of picks, but nothing like great pick wise. But I had I think I had the 102, the 104, and the 109. Then I had the 202 and the 204. There was one manager trying to trade me Jalen Hurts, and he was just so greedy, I just kind of gave up on it. Then another person sent me some Josh Allen, offers me his Josh Allen. And it was like not that crazy. And I said, what am I doing here? Like, the guy wants a couple of second-round picks. I ended up moving the 202, a 2023 2, which I have a bunch of 2023 seconds, a 2023 third, the 407, and Zach Wilson for Josh Allen and the 505.
And this is FFPC 1 QB.
It's an FFPC 1 QB.
You have to do that. You have to do it.
I get it.
You know what playing FFPC is like? It's like a 10-man dynasty league. You want the best. You want to keep like laddering up.
Yeah. Basically, you've got, you're going to be cutting to 16 every year. And and if it's a normal league, it's going to be a kicker and a defense. Are going to be two of those players. So you're down to 14. So you're always trying to look at
you got to keep laddering up.
Who are my top 14? And if you have a ton of picks, that's going to put you over. It's going to put you in trouble next year. It's to your advantage to start right now trying to consolidate those things down. So you have get better players, get a better starting lineup, find a way to a better starting lineup, use that depth because it gets harder to do the later it gets in the season.
And when you get to the end of these, sorry, Theo, I was just going to add, when you get to the end of these FFPC drafts, I don't know about you guys, but anytime I can move a 5th, 6th, 7th round for a future, like a 23 right now, something, I mean, I'll do it just because, like, how many of these guys can you roster, right? Like we said, you're going to have to cut them, get something of value that you can hold that's not a player that you're going to have to cut, and then worry about it the following year and keep doing that and building your value.
Yeah, I mean, it was a no-brainer pick, and it's kind of like, does it speed up the rebuild? It probably does. And if for whatever reason the team went completely south and you wanted to get more picks, the guys that I picked at 202, forget the 2023 second. The guy I picked at 202 most likely is not going to net me a 2023 first. You could trade Josh Allen right now if I put him on the block. And I said Josh Allen for a 2023 1, I'd have the deal done within the week. So it's like you got to take your shot at some of these elite quarterbacks. And quarterback is deep, but at the end of the day, having an elite difference maker does still matter in Dynasty. And I think some players are just kind of like we talked about. Not to get off the rails here, but we talked about like in Superflex startups right now, people are not trying to move up to 101 or 102. Like, it's like people don't want Mahomes and Allen, even in Superflex, to the point that, like, people all want to trade back. And, like, it's like, just bank the points. Take these elite guys and run with it. It's like, that's the goal of fantasy. When you get a chance for one of these guys, go for it. So I was happy with that one. I didn't even feel like it was a trade I needed to bring up because it was just such like an obvious accept,
Yeah, and during the season, be watching for Tom Brady owners who are falling out of contention, and just offer them a third, and I almost don't even care what you have at quarterback. If you can get Brady for your backup, or, if you can improve from, like a Kirk Cousins or Derek Carr or something like that to a Tom Brady, for the cost of a third rounder, that's what you want to be doing if you're a contender at all. So, I think Brady's one of those ones that's going to come relatively cheap in single quarterback.
But wait for the right timing, guys. Like
right.
wait till you're in season. Wait till those contenders are either lost a quarterback or they want to upgrade their quarterback. Don't do it now, man. Like now you're not going to get full value. It's like a vet, right? You're not going to move a vet now. You rather they give you that big game with 110 and 2 touchdowns or whatever it is.
Yep. Yeah. If you own Brady, you definitely you want to try to hold him.
But try to buy him for sure right now in the cheap.
Yeah, if you can buy him for cheap right now, great. Mm-hmm. If not, just wait until, because sometimes in one quarterback, somebody will have Brady and, Aaron Rodgers or Brady and Kyler Murray or whatever, and if they fall out of contention, they're going to hang on to Kyler Murray. They're not going to hang on to Tom Brady. So, they're going to be looking to move Brady for whatever they can.
You guys worried with Kyler right now, just in general?
No, not at all. I mean, I think he's a stud, and I think that when we had Dwayne McFarland on earlier this spring, Dwayne brought up the fact that he sees Kyler Murray as the only guy who conceivably could be QB1 overall, and he's compared to like where Josh Allen's getting drafted to where Kyler Murray's getting drafted, like Kyler Murray could be QB1 overall, and I think in the range of outcomes for his career, he could have multiple QB1 overall years. So I'm all in on Kyler Murray.
I just asked because right now is such a good time to buy him, right? Because there's a bit of worry in the waters.
getting Hollywood Brown too. Like they want to do what they like. Arizona is going to make moves to try to get better and to get better pieces for him. I mean, they trade for Hollywood Brown and then they draft Trey McBride in the second round. So like they add a wide receiver he has familiarity with, who's had success in the league, who's young, and then they add a tight end who most of us thought was the best tight end in this class, if not, a top 2 tight end in this class. So like they're doing what they can do to get the offense better. And D-Hops is out 6 games, but D-Hops will be back. So like when you get D-Hops back, that offense, could take another big step forward.
Yeah, look out for him in drafts. He's falling a lot, so he might fall a little too far in your draft. So just keep an eye on him.
Yep.
Is there any narratives about this draft? Like we've had basically a whole offseason of talking about this draft class. We've seen the actual draft happen. We've now seen rookie drafts happen. Is there a narrative about this class that you think could be flipped on its head?
I mean, the obvious one is that it's a terrible class because, I mean, if, say 5 of these first-round wide receivers hit and then a couple more of the second and third round wide receivers hit, that's going to completely change our view of how the class looks, in hindsight. And you might regret, not hanging on to that late first-round pick and getting, a Sky Moore or, George Pickens or something like that. Or you might regret, trading away that early second, not getting David Bell or Jahan Dotson. So there's a lot of wide receivers that could end up doing just fine. The odds are probably at least half of them are going to end up failing. But, if a bunch of them hit, I think that'd turn the narrative on this class completely upside down.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that's the narrative. I think it's going to be a better class than some people think. I think a lot of guys kind of landed in situations where they're going to have opportunities, and I think that there's going to be some successful fantasy seasons out of these guys. And I think that, like you said, a lot of people were very quick to get out of the first round picks. All it's going to have to take is a few of those guys in the back half of the first round hitting. And then one other narrative, I think, as soon as Kenneth Walker was drafted by Seattle, I think that it was just constant negativity about the landing spot and the pick. I think that this is not my bold prediction, but I think Kenneth Walker is going to exceed expectations this year. And I think he's going to end up looking like a very good draft pick for dynasty players. And I think he'll end up being a very good player in Seattle. I think it could be a little hairy early on with Penny there. But I think by the end of the year, you're going to see kind of why, they took him in the second round. I think his trajectory could be, Javonte Williams like in Dynasty.
Yeah,
I don't disagree with. Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. I think just seeing the receiver versus running back, debate, and then adding in the draft capital. Especially in that second round where you're seeing some of these receivers that are taken second, third round, mixing in with running backs that are taken all the way down to sixth round, when you're in the early third round. You got the Algier was a fifth rounder? Was he a fifth rounder?
Yeah.
So just that whole dynamic, are we going to see some of these really late running backs live up to the rookie draft capital that they're building right now, or that they're being purchased at right now? Or are all the drafters that kind of said, I'm going to stick to these receivers, they've got the draft capital? I think that's going to be interesting to see if that changes anything, or is that going to keep us on the same path and really pay attention to situation versus draft capital versus, are you going running back or receiver, depending on how quickly they pop. And then always, with tight ends, Theo, your favorite, to see how early these guys, if any, pop is always interesting for me, especially in the tight end preems.
Is there a bold prediction that you have? You could have bold predictions. Any bold predictions about these rookies, maybe for this year, or particularly or if you want to flip to it, for their career?
JD?
Yeah, throw it to me first.
You want to go first?
If you have one, go ahead.
All right. Yeah. So I've already been on record saying Christian Watson is going to flat out bust I'm still 100% behind that. I have 0% Christian Watson. I intend to have 0% quit Christian Watson the rest of the way. But on the flip side of that, baby, you can ring my David Bell anytime. I think Bell is just in a great place to succeed. I like the fact that Cleveland really wanted him. They only had a 3rd round pick, so they couldn't take him in the 1st or 2nd round. I think they would have taken him in the 2nd round if they could have taken him in the 2nd round. They didn't have the pick. They knew they probably didn't need to, so they took him in the 3rd round, and they're ecstatic about having him. So I'm trying to get as much David Bell as I can get in all different formats.
I love the call. I think that I'll give 2 bold predictions. I think Wan'Dale Robinson's going to become a thing. I think he landed well in New York, and I think that he could be a steal in the fact that you saw him go in a lot of 3rd rounds. And I think we've been seeing NFL teams draft smaller wide receivers for the last few years, and we haven't really seen a massive hit. I think that there's a chance. I don't want to make this a bold prediction, but I think in the range of outcomes, there's a chance that Wan'Dale Robinson is closer to Elijah Moore last year in his impact for the Giants than I think some people are giving credit to. They used the very high pick on him, early 2nd round guy. That wide receiver core, we all love Tony. There's still people out there that think Golladay could have a bounce back year, but I think Robinson's going to have to be a piece of that offense. I think he's exciting. I think they'll manufacture touches for him. But my bold prediction is I think that Treylon Burks will end up being a wide receiver 2 in redraft this year. Not like a guy you're going to have to take, but I think that he's the kind of guy that could go on a tear as the season moves along. And I think he'll end up slotting in somewhere in that high-end wide receiver 3. But I think he's a chance that he finishes in the top 24. We've seen a rookie wide receiver. Last year we had 3 of them. We had Chase Waddle and we had Amon-Ra St. Brown. The year before we had, I believe there was at least 2 or 3 of them, and CeeDee Lamb was just outside of it. But we had Justin Jefferson, very high in the PPR scoring. But I think Treylon Burks for me is the guy from a redraft perspective. I think he's a very good redraft pick right now. He's going to have a big role. I think essentially he's moving into the A.J. Brown role, and I think that they're going to try to make him a thing. He's big. I think he's going to be effective in the red zone, and I think that they're going to move him around and use him as a weapon. And I think people that drafted Treylon Burks are going to be thrilled with what they see on the field this year.
I like it. I'm going to go to Pittsburgh. Pickett. I think Pickett's going to give you a nice QB2 season. I like where he's going. I like the situation. I don't think you can have a better situation. What they do out there with, you saw what they did with Roethlisberger. You've got the weapons around him. It's always a good place with Tomlin's running the show, and how he develops quarterbacks. I think that's a good spot for him. I think that he'll maybe overproduce, and people in Superflex might regret passing on him. I think, especially where he fell later in the 1st round in Superflex drafts. And I'm going to do a little homer hot take. Alec Pierce and Woods, I think the athletic freaks that they are, I think they give you more than people think in 2022. I think there's, with Ryan going there now and Matty Ice running the show, I think you're going to see more of an aerial game. Yeah, it's a running team and they got JT there, but I think that with a guy like Ryan there, I think these younger athletic guys that maybe are rough around the edges might produce for you a little quicker in that situation. And I like what they offer at their price.
Definitely.
There's Famous Jay joining us. Famous Jay, what's up, brother? We were waiting for your question tonight. I know Theo wanted to drop that tonight.
All day, Famous Jay.
I love it. Guys, you guys were awesome in the chat tonight. This was fun, man. This was fun just because, we've done these drafts and maybe a last thing to comment on, but I find it very interesting. If you think about the first rookie draft that you did, and then the most recent one that you did, how differently your thoughts are and your approach to it is, and guys that you're targeting, and then just how the flow goes versus that first one. I do feel it, it's a very interesting thing to look at. I think you'll see a very big difference. And, that's the evolution. You got to be changing on a daily basis. Guys, this was a blast, man. I know we lost Andrew halfway through. Go check out AMS Schellenberg out there in the Twitterverse. Dan, this is always a blast, brother. I like how you're wearing the team color greens today. Remind the peeps where they can find the sleeper and anything else you want to share before we close this out.
Yeah, it's very fortunate that Goat District Green and Baylor Green are, they're close enough. So I make it all work together. You can catch me at Overhyped Sweeper, drop the final Eve Sweeper, and I'm out there doing some startups. I'm doing some best balls. I'm a little bit of everything right now, and really looking forward to. I've got about a month or so to draft, and then it's going to be vacation season for me for about 6 weeks, where I will get very little drafting in. So I'm gonna have to really work it over the next month and get those drafts in there. So hopefully we see him in those drafts rooms.
Yeah, Dan, we got Portugal in July. It's
Yes.
Got a big trip we got to get ready for. So you got to get the drafts in prior. Theo, I know you've got some serious goodness lined up. We had to reschedule one of our big guests. Tell the peeps what they can expect coming up.
So we're still rescheduling a few people, and we're scheduling some. But next week we have Adam Harstead coming back on the show from Football Guys, who was just tremendous. This will be his second time on the GOAT District. So it's kind of like a dynasty catch up with Adam Harstead. Now that we know the landing spots for all the rookies, really go over that dynasty landscape. Anybody playing redraft or dynasty, he's just one of the sharpest guys. So that'll be a really, really fun show. We have a number of high stakes players coming back on the show this summer. Getting back to having a number of those guys on, and we'll have a lot of great analysts on as well. So we've got a real big summer for the GOAT District. And yeah, like Dan, I'm drafting. I'm going to hop in another startup before you know it. And I have a few more articles probably coming along on Player Profiler this summer as well.
For sure. Guys, always a blast hanging out, talking fantasy, especially strategy, fresh off of these rookie drafts. Guys, we keep bringing in these guests. If there's someone we haven't brought on that you guys want to see on the district, drop it in the comments, drop a tag out there in Twitter land. Let us know. We bring in, the guys that we think are the best and the baddest out there in fantasy land. But if there's someone we're missing, just bring our attention to it. We'd love to get them on the show. We appreciate you guys tuning in on the regular, whether you're watching. Appreciate you guys in the chat, Wheeler, everyone out there. We got a lot coming. Make sure you tune in. The podcasts are always out there, any platform that you have. And guys, be safe, be happy, enjoy your drafts, and we'll check you all later.
GOAT District, the Pope listens. Dynasty, our religion, for the blokes missing. On all of these trades, on all of these plays, on all of these grades. By the end of the day, y'all getting played. So, what you gonna do next? Try to fill up that flex? Send the homie a text. That trash offer's the best. You try to make it complex, then they text you back. Now all of a sudden, they don't make any sense. Broaden your horizons, boy. Dynasty's not for the Simons, boy. These trades not for consignment, boy. Respect your opponent, y'all some piranhas, boy. This my advice from me to you. Open up your cute little podcast queue. Search up GOAT District, my dude. Pop it in your ear, man. Y'all know what to do. It's the and I always be traded. And I always be traded. And I always be trading. Y'all try to betray them, but first you gotta bait them. Fish.
Dan, be honest. Did you get sniped in that 500? Trey McBride? Were you looking tight end there?
Well, hey, how did you know?
Just a guess. A little gander.
No, I did not.
Okay.
I did not.
I'm going to send this this trade offer, and then I'm going to say goodnight, fellas. The post-COVID IR has me a little tired tonight. Yeah.
That's right. I totally forget you guys are fresh off the COVID. So you guys all full recoup everything? Good to go?
Everybody's good to go. I mean, I feel fine, but like a couple of times I've gotten tired like a little earlier at night, but I'm back to normal. Everything's like good with me. Yeah. Kids are back. Everybody's back.
We'll just blame the James Cook picks on COVID. It's all right.
James Cook. We will have this like we should have we'll have a follow up James Cook segment several times over this year.
We need a board. We need to start tracking a board where there's like guys where we start going this guy versus this guy.
That's probably the one player we're like butting heads on. We had a lot of agreement on guys. I just think that I'm kind of happy with having some Cook exposure. I'll be interested to see how the summer goes.
Yeah, I mean, it could work out, but I think this year you want Singletary, and then
yeah,
who knows? But yeah, see, Cook is one of those guys I could see. There maybe being a discount in the middle of the season is kind of the way I'm thinking. Yeah. But you could totally be right, because if there was a time where I thought there might be a little bit more of a discount on Jonathan Taylor relative to
there was
Clyde Allaire. I thought Allaire might have a better first year, and it might be one of those things where you could take Allaire, flip him, and that ended up not working out at all.
JT did have a discount though, because I got him off Matt Hicks for 2021 first.
Wow, man,
that's what's up.
He'll never live.
That's why I'm 3-time champion. Theo, come get some.
Big time. I told you that one. Shout out to Matt Hicks. I'm happy to be in the league and help Matt out, but you'll keep the crown this year. That dispersal dried up pretty quick.
It got dispersed.
Big time. All right, fellas. Have a great night. I'll talk
later,
to you
Theo.
Take care.
Catch you later, man.
Famous Jay, I don't mind those picks, brother.
Yes.
That's one guy I didn't get actually that I didn't mention is Shakir. I don't think I have a share, and I kind of like him. And he's got a nice. He's a decent floor play.
Wait. I might be able to help you out here. We got him on the hard way.
Nice. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
So everything you thought you didn't get, you got the hard way.
I know, that's what it seems like. You know what? These FFPC, like the rookie draft boards, they're a little hard to pick or to read because you're always in a different spot. You know what I mean? You got to read the whole board to find out where you are. But nice, that's great. That's what's good about being in a bunch of rookie drafts, right? You get a piece of everything.
Right. And that's a nice thing about, doing some drafts with you. And, I got, well, for the most part right now, it's you. And then, next year I'll have something with Theo and something with Andrew too.
That's right.
Yeah, that will be fun too, because, everybody has different preferences. So, you kind of, forces you to diversify a little bit more.
100%. It's always good to team up with someone that gets you to widen your horizons a bit,
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
All right, Danny boy, this has been a blast, brother. As usual. I'll put this, I'm going to drop it on pod.
All right. Sounds